Welcome to this talk, end of day talk with a sting party lined up. So I suppose you're all looking forward to it. So am I. So okay, so I'm going to talk about Java EE applications on Oracle Java Cloud Service. There aren't that many here, so feel free to. We can kind of have the session in a format such that I can address any queries that you might have. So we'll try to kind of customize, tailor it accordingly. My name is Harshad Oak, and just a little bit about myself. I'm part of a Java Champions program and Oracle ACE Director as well. These are the 4 books that I've written. I was a co-author in the Java J2EE Bible. The other 3 are my own books. So if you remember, J2EE Bible used to be this. I don't know if it's still available, but this was an J2EE 1.4 Bible long time back. And last year I wrote a book about the Oracle Java Cloud Service. So I'm not an Oracle employee. Being part of the Oracle ACE Director program, and because I have been writing about the Oracle Java Cloud Service, I am kind of been trying it out and seeing how its evolution over the past few years. So that's where I come from. So I can say things that Oracle employees probably can't. So if you have any questions that kind of any candid opinions, I could possibly share that. Okay, so first step, what is your idea of what the Oracle Java Cloud Service offers? Do you have any basic? Has anybody tried it? Have you tried the Oracle Java Cloud Service? Okay, just one person. Okay, 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 great. So okay, so Oracle Java Cloud Service began maybe a couple of years back. The initial version that was available was a very slimmed down version of the WebLogic Server. So you just had a few basic things that were available to you, some APIs that commonly used APIs that were available to you, but that's about it, right? So that was how it was for a couple of years, and sometime maybe early this year or maybe late last year, where Oracle really brought the whole Oracle Java Cloud Service out, and the whole version was available, where you get a full-fledged Java EE server and full-fledged WebLogic server and much more on offers, right? So it's been a year since the full-fledged Oracle Java Cloud Service has been available, and essentially the idea is, in a kind of simplified one-liner would be WebLogic on the cloud, right? So if you have been using WebLogic, so that's mostly the direction that it has taken. Different versions, different variants, different capabilities, but essentially it's WebLogic that's running for you. Okay, so currently there are, actually if you were talking to me a few days back, there used to be 3 variants of the Oracle Java Cloud Service. If you look at all the documentation, Oracle used to say Oracle Java Cloud Service, Oracle Java Cloud Service Virtual Image, and Oracle Java Cloud Service SAS Extension. Okay, but lately in the newer material, I see that they are only talking of 2 services. The virtual image still is there, but it's not probably being pushed that much. So the idea here is that the SAS extension actually was the Oracle Java Cloud Service earlier. Okay, until last year, the Oracle Java Cloud Service that was available, as I mentioned, a slimmer version of WebLogic, that was the Oracle Java Cloud Service. But last year they renamed it as the SAS extension. So essentially the idea is that people who are using Oracle SaaS products, if they want to do something additional that cannot be done with just the SaaS solution that they have or on the Oracle Cloud, they can build that application on the SAS extension. So that's essentially where the name SAS extension comes from. But there is no stopping you from building a proper Java EE application there and running it. Okay, so although the name says SAS extension, for 80% of Java EE cases maybe, the SAS extension might be good enough. Right, so all the common APIs that you might require, servlets and JSPs and JSF and REST APIs and all the basic things that you would require are available on the SAS extension as well. It's just that you don't get full control over the server and on the hardware, and all that control is not available. It's just meant to be a simple shared WebLogic kind of environment where you can build extensions, is what Oracle is now calling it, as where you build extensions for the SAS extension, so for the SAS solutions that they have. Right, and the Oracle Java Cloud Service, the other one, is the full-fledged version where you can do anything you wish to really. Okay, so let's directly jump into. I don't have that many slides, so I'll directly jump into the demo. So let me just. Okay, so if you subscribe for the trial, there are trial versions available for the SAS extension as well as the full Java Cloud Service. So what it gets you is a 30-day full feature trial, right? So that's the good part of it, that it's 30-day, which is kind of short if you want to really try out the in its totality, but it's a full feature version that is available for trial. So I would highly recommend that you do that. So only one of you has tried it out, so I would recommend that you definitely do that. So when you select the trial, you can select either you go for the SAS extension trial or you go for the full Java cloud trial. Both the trials are available. So I'll show both of them. So this is where I am going into the full version of the Java cloud service. Okay, in the meantime, I'll open up another window where I can probably have the other one going as well. So what I'm trying to do here is in one browser I'm getting the full Java cloud service going, and in the other cloud I intend to just have the SAS extension running, and we'll see how both of them are different and what is good or bad about both of them. So okay, this is the dashboard for the full Oracle Java cloud service. So you'll see here that apart from just the Java cloud service, there are many other trials or many other cloud services also that I have subscribed as part of my trial. So you'll see those as well. But essentially this Java thing here is the one instance of the Java cloud service that I have. And there's also a database cloud service that you would be aware of from Oracle. So the database cloud service is inherent and kind of is something that has to be there with the cloud service. So it's not like you can only buy the Java cloud service and you don't take the database cloud service along with it. You don't have that option. Currently, at least as of now, the database cloud service is a must-have for the Java cloud service. Okay, so if I'll just somehow open in new window, it's not friendly to that. Somehow you get a page not found, I don't know why. So I'll just jump into the service console. So now this is the version where I have determined exactly what kind of setup I want. I have decided what is the hardware that I want, what kind of capabilities I want, which version of WebLogic Server that I want. So while this gets going, I'll jump into the other window and try to get my SAS extension going as well. Okay, so okay, here we are. So this is my instance of the Java cloud service that I have. So what I'm trying to really kind of highlight is that it's a very simple web-based kind of thing where instead of having servers running on my machine or configuring it in a very complex kind of environment, that is not the case. It's a very simple environment, just a browser-based thing where you select what you want and you create this instance accordingly. So you'll see here that I already have one instance created, and it's saying that it is it's saying which version it is and what exactly its capabilities are, and you'll see some other information about what the storage is, what the memory is. So essentially just in the browser you fill up a form, select a few things here and there, configure your cloud service accordingly, and within a few minutes you have a proper WebLogic server running for you in exactly the kind of setup that you want. Okay, so if I go to create, the thing is I could have liked to show you a creation right now, but the thing is the provisioning takes maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, more than that at times. So I will just show you what all I can enter there and how I can create it, but the provisioning process probably won't get completed. Okay, so while this is going, I'll just jump into the other window where it is still not logged in. Okay. I think I need to change my Wi-Fi. Let's open world again. Okay, while both these are struggling to get to the next page, what I'll do is in the meantime, I'll go over to NetBeans. Okay, so are you okay with what I've shown so far? Just a web-based interface where you can, in one browser, what I was doing is I was starting the SAS extension. So where I will get a simplistic kind of view where I can just deploy applications and stuff. In the other browser, I'm getting the full Java cloud service where I have determined exactly what is the kind of environment I want. Okay, now NetBeans, how many of you are familiar with NetBeans? Okay, many are not. Okay, so NetBeans, I'm just using it as an example. The cloud service provides integration with all the popular IDEs. So if you are comfortable with Eclipse or JDeveloper, IntelliJ, I'm not sure of that, but if it provides integration with the Oracle Cloud, but Eclipse and JDeveloper work perfectly well. So it will look pretty similar to what I'm doing here with NetBeans. Okay, so I'll not get into any coding and stuff. I'll just create a new simple project and we'll try to deploy it to the cloud. Okay, so you would have, those who have used NetBeans, you would have probably done this a million times. So, so I'll just create a Java 1 project. And okay, you'll see that here I've configured my IDE to give me a choice there. The Glassfish server, you would know, comes with NetBeans anyway. So that's the bundled server that I have. But using the plugin that is available for NetBeans for the Oracle Java Cloud Service. Similarly, for Eclipse and JDeveloper, you have similar things. So that you essentially get an option there that do you want to deploy it to the Glassfish server or do you want to directly deploy it to the Oracle Java Cloud, right? That's how simple it is. So instead of a local server that I have, I just select that, okay, don't install it to the local server, don't deploy it to the local server, just deploy it to the cloud. Okay, and okay, I'll just finish this. Okay, in the meantime, let's just check if the browsers, okay, I've got to the next step here, and in the other browser also I've got to the next step. Okay, is it getting too much at a time? I'm kind of doing 3 windows at the same time, so is it getting too complex to handle or are you okay with it? Okay. What is this? Resolve problems. Okay, so now I have a project created here and I have already integrated this with my SAS extension. So before I deploy this there, I'll just jump into that window. So this Opera browser is where I have the SAS extension going. Chrome is where I have the full Java Cloud Service going. Okay, so if you see in the SAS extension trial, again I have a database schema there that is there, and also there's the developer cloud service. I'll talk of that later on. But this is the simpler, leaner Java Cloud version. We'll see it listed below at the bottom there, doing Java JCS SAS extension. Okay, so if I'll jump into the console here. It's usually not this slow, so it's not the fastest to respond even in good times, but it's not. It usually doesn't take this long. But okay, if this doesn't pop up in a second, I'll go to the other window. Okay, so essentially what we are trying to do here is, if you have experience with Java EE, you have been building Java EE applications. Traditionally, we always used to deploy it to Glassfish or WebLogic or WebSphere or whatever it might be you have on your machine or on-premise environment. Instead, what I'm looking now is just deploy it to the cloud and use a server in the cloud. That's pretty much it. And the thing to note here is that the environment is, there's no new learning as such. So there's a very good use case for why you should be adopting this, why you should at least be trying it. If only one person has tried it, all of you should be trying it at least. Because there is definitely a good, okay, what page is this? No service instances found, okay. That was not supposed to happen, let's see. Okay, let me just deploy from NetBeans and see if it pops up or not. So, okay, so if I jump into NetBeans again, you'll remember that when I created the application, I said I want to deploy it to the Java Cloud Service SAS extension and not to my Glassfish server that I have as part of NetBeans. So if I just right click and deploy from here, the integration is so good that you don't really need to do anything special. You just select the usual NetBeans tools, use the usual NetBeans commands, and it just does the stuff in the background. That is if it works, okay. Okay, so you'll see what it is doing here is the plugin that I have provided is it's creating the required directory, it's creating the jar files, and if you can read it, it's saying uploading, deploying. Okay, so what's happening here is instead of deploying to my Glassfish server, now it has packaged my application, it is uploading to the cloud service where you will see the next step that will pop up here is some initial checks are performed that when you are deploying it to the SAS extension, because it is a shared environment that is a slim WebLogic that is available to you, you can't really do anything that you wish. So with the SAS extension comes with a certain set of restrictions, so that you cannot use certain things, you can do certain things. There's a long list of that in the documentation that you that is available. And there's a whitelist check that will also happen, that if you are using something that Oracle Java Cloud Service SAS extension does not support, it will not let me deploy the application. But currently, because this application is kind of, I haven't really done anything there, this should go through. It's taking too long, but okay, let me jump into the other Java Cloud Service. Are you okay with this so far? Any doubts with this, or? Okay, because instead of waiting here for this to eventually happen, I don't know why it's taking so long. But okay, that's supposed to happen during demos, I guess. Okay, so this is where I clicked on creating a new Java Cloud Service. Now this is the full Java Cloud Service. Okay, now this is not the SAS extension. Okay, so here you will see I have two options. Where I can either create just a virtual image. Now this virtual image is meant mainly for testing and staging, that kind of an environment. But if you are deploying a real application, the other one is what you are supposed to kind of use. So I'll just say next. Excuse me. Okay, now here again, I just get an option of which WebLogic server I want. Now this is the full Java Cloud Service. This is not the SAS extension. With the SAS extension, I don't get any of these choices. I don't even know what is the exact hardware or what is running in the background. Okay, but with this other one, I get to choose all the stuff that I want, which version of WebLogic I want, what is the kind of capacity I want, all that stuff I get to choose. With the SAS extension, Oracle doesn't even tell you that what is running in the background to get your application to work. Okay, so let me select WebLogic Server 12c. I'm just going with the default options. You'll see that there's even the coherence option if you are used it or aware of it. So you can even select coherence and you will get that capability as well. Okay, so now here is where I actually specify what exactly how I want to configure my instance. So apart from the obvious things like specifying the name and description, I can specify cluster sizes. You'll see that it expects me to provide a database configuration there. So I said that the database cloud is kind of integral and kind of a must-have for Java Cloud. So that's the reason for it, that when you create a new Java Cloud Service instance, it insists on a database configuration for it as well. Okay, so and there's the load balancer that you can configure, and also there's Oracle Storage Cloud. So anybody has heard of Oracle Storage Cloud? Okay, so there's a separate cloud service that Oracle provides, which is the Oracle Storage Cloud. And so for your backups and recovery, you integrate your Java Cloud with the storage cloud. So essentially what I'm doing is, one is I'm configuring my Java Cloud in exactly the way I want. So I specified which server, I specified all the other stuff. And I'm specifying the database that I'm using, and I'm also specifying what is the storage cloud container that I wish to use to get this cloud to actually work. Okay, and there's of course the WebLogic username, password that you need to provide. Okay, so if you click on this here, you'll see that it gives me many options there in terms of CPU capacity, RAM, all that stuff. Okay, so highly configurable in a very simple environment, just a browser-based few clicks and drop-downs here and there, and you get a ready server available for you. So if you are willing to spend the dollars, it's not that difficult to get going with it. Okay, any doubts with this? Yeah.
So basically, initially you specify the cluster size. So later on, maybe like you want to change the capacity. So can you do that dynamically?
You can change things later on. Yes, with this version, because you have full control over the environment. That's it. You can do things later on. Okay, so this cloud. Okay, so I'll not complete this step here, because even if I submit the form right now, it will not happen immediately. The provisioning thing will take 15-20 minutes. So instead, I'll go back to my previous page where I already have a Java Cloud Service instance ready. Okay, but essentially this form is what I filled up to create the cloud service instance, Java Cloud Service instance that I'll now show you. Okay, so you'll see that I'm anyway on the last step here. So after this step, it just confirms all the stuff that you entered, and it will get to provisioning your cloud service. okay with this? Okay. Okay, so this is the cloud service that I created some time back. So let's see exactly what I can do with it. Again, it shows all the basic reporting that you would expect from it. And I can now just jump into the WebLogic. How many of you use WebLogic? Okay, many of you, okay. So essentially, you'll see that this interface that will now pop up will be a familiar WebLogic interface. So I'll just get into that. So I personally haven't really used WebLogic that much, but Glassfish has pretty much been my thing that I've used the most. But okay, so the okay, so you'll see that essentially now you have a WebLogic console, but this is all on the cloud. You don't have to worry about any of the other background stuff. Okay, so if you know how to deploy and run applications on WebLogic, this is pretty much the same thing, right? So the beauty of the whole thing is that in a very simple and easy to use kind of UI, you have essentially delegated all the hard work that you usually have to do to get the servers up, to provision all the requirements that you have for your application, and Oracle is now supposed to take care of all of that. But now you have a WebLogic console and you can do whatever you know. If you're familiar with WebLogic, whatever configuration information you need to additional provide, you want to deploy your applications, WAR, EAR files, whatever. So after this step, really, once you get here, it's pretty much the same thing as using WebLogic Server. What was earlier when you provisioned the server was really the only difference that you had. Okay, so now if I go back to NetBeans, okay, in the meantime, it has managed to, if you can read it here, deployment finished. So it has managed to upload the WAR file. And if I go to, in the other tab, you will see this is the log for the actual deployment. So is it visible from the back? No. Just about? No. Not visible. Okay, so I'll just read the key things there, where the whitelist check is really the primary thing here. Okay, see here checking web app for compliance. So essentially that is what takes time when you deploy directly from NetBeans. So if it was a local Glassfish server, it would have been immediate. But when I deployed to the SAS extension, it usually takes a couple of minutes because it will go through the whitelist check, the virus check, all that stuff, and only then will it actually get deployed. And now if I try this URL, if all goes well, I should be able to see a hello page or something like that. Okay, so this is the page from the NetBeans application, the index.jsp page that you usually get when you create a new application in NetBeans. So you'll see that the URL here, it is saying java-oak. So essentially this is my identity domain. This is the name of the SAS extension instance that I'm using. And this is my application, Java 1 that I just created, and the index.jsp. So fairly easily, we have managed to deploy an application onto the cloud. So technically, you have been doing cloud development, although it's not really very different from what you might have done otherwise as part of Java EE. Okay, so if I can get to the SAS extension console. Okay, so the SAS extension console now, if it hopefully opens up, you'll see is, okay, I am not sure why this is happening because I'm able to deploy to this instance, but it is not showing up here. Okay. So it's working fine. I managed to deploy to it from NetBeans, but I'm not getting the Java console for it. Just doing the same thing again is not going to help. Okay, I'll just try it for a couple of minutes maybe, and if this doesn't work, I'll move on. So what I expect here is, as part of the SAS extension control is, now this will not be a WebLogic console. So with the case of the Oracle Java Cloud Service, not the SAS extension, the full Java Cloud Service, you essentially got a WebLogic console, right? So it's pretty much the same thing as running a WebLogic thing. But with the SAS extension, the console that I should have got here is a very basic kind of console with a few graphs there, a few reports about what exactly is happening, what is the performance, what are the names of the application deployed. That's about it, right? So the idea of the SAS extension is that it's not going to give you all the control and all the reporting and all the information, all the logs, all that stuff that you would require for a full-fledged application. You'll not get it from a SAS extension, but you'll get all the basic stuff that you would need for most applications. If the application is something that you are, as the name suggests, SAS extension, you have an existing SAS solution, you just want to add some minor functionality, you don't really think it is worth buying the whole Oracle Java Cloud Service, then you can go for the SAS extension, which is obviously much cheaper and much even easier than the full Java Cloud Service to use. So that's really the use case for the SAS extension control. So I was hoping to kind of show what exactly I can do there, but okay, again you will see that I have a Java database schema here. So instead what I'll do is I'll quickly show you that even the database, anybody has tried the Oracle Database Cloud Service? No, okay. So even that is very good. So if you have, so because I have the Database Cloud Service as part of the Java Cloud Service thing, or I need to use it, the Database Cloud Service instance that I get here, sorry. Is also something you definitely need to hopefully this will work. Okay, so you'll see that again this is a nice rich interface that is available for you to manage database. So you can do your SQL, you can basic application building stuff that if you have done anything with the Oracle Database Apex, so you can do that. And there's the SQL workshop where I could actually fire SQL queries. And so essentially the point is that just through the browser, just through a few clicks and buttons and here and there, you don't really need to learn anything new, and you can start using the Java Cloud right away is pretty much the primary takeaway from that. I'll come to the Developer Cloud Service. Anybody has heard of the Developer Cloud Service? No, okay. I'll come back to that. Here I'll just quickly show you the other cloud services that I am using in the process. Okay, so it's kind of evolving very well. So if you had tried this 1 year back, the interface wasn't really up to the mark. You had to do a lot of things. For example, just simple things like creating a public key and private key. You had to manually open a different tool, create those keys, and do all that manually, and then submit that key here. It was much more difficult than what it is now. So Oracle has been constantly kind of updating it to make it easier to use the cloud. So if you look at it 1 year back, it was really more difficult, far more difficult than what it is today. Today it is much easier. They have kind of put in more wizards and more tools to kind of simplify the process. Okay, so quickly if I go to the compute cloud. Now compute cloud is the IaaS thing that you might have heard in all the talks if you have gone to Open World, or if you have heard any of the Oracle guys. All the IaaS thing that they are talking of is mostly about the compute cloud service. So this compute cloud service is pretty much the foundation on which all the other stuff is being built. So the compute cloud, so what we are doing here is that the compute cloud is my IaaS setup over which I am running the Oracle Java Cloud Service, Oracle Database Cloud Service, and okay, so if you see here, it's saying that I have two instances running. One is the one is the Database Cloud Service, and one is the Java Cloud Service. And this is where I actually configure the hardware that I want to use, right? So if I want to tweak something with the hardware that I intend to use, the Compute Cloud Service is where I need to tweak all those IaaS things. The Java Cloud Service and the Database Cloud Service are the PaaS solutions. Okay, so you get all of them together in a pretty nice interface. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm just showing you all the allied cloud services. So this is not I'm not going to show you any code really, because the coding part is Java. You guys already might know that. So what I'm highlighting here is that there are just a bunch of cloud services, all very easy to use, that you can. Okay, let me now jump into the Oracle Developer Cloud Service. So nobody had heard of that, right? So Oracle Developer Cloud Service is also special. So I wrote an article for Java Magazine. If you open the issue for last month, you'll find that. Oh no, last month I wrote about Oracle Java Cloud. A few months back I wrote about the Developer Cloud. So essentially the idea of the Developer Cloud Service is that anything that you need to do as part of the development process. So if you need a wiki, you need team collaboration, you need version control, you need a Maven repository, right? So all these things that you need as part of the development process, you get as part of the Developer Cloud Service. Okay, so the idea is that anything that you can move to the cloud, you should move to the cloud, is what Oracle really is pitching. Okay, so if I open this console, okay, I haven't created a project here, so it will probably not show me any. Okay, I don't have a project created here, but okay, so what you do with the Developer Cloud Service, so if you want continuous integration, continuous deployment, if you want agile sprints, you can configure all of that. Again, this has come a long way. If you tried this 1 year back, it had very few features, it was not that easy to use, but over the past year, they have added a lot more to the Developer Cloud Service. So what you can think of, maybe not immediately, but over maybe next year or so, is gradually how you can adopt all of these solutions. If you are kind of comfortable with using Oracle as your vendor, you really don't need to do anything on premise, on your machines, or in your development environment. So the Developer Cloud Service can take care of all the wiki, agile part of it, all the source code management. You can even configure builds so that it gets automatically deployed. So the continuous integration, continuous deployment thing that can also happen. So all those features are in the Developer Cloud Service. The Compute Cloud Service is the IaaS part of it. The Java Cloud Service and the Database Cloud Service are the PaaS part of it. And all of them come together very well to kind of get you what you need for an application. Okay, so sorry. The SAS extension unfortunately did not open. Let me just give it one last shot. If I don't get it, I'll move on. Because that SAS Extension Console is a little different, so I was hoping to show you that. No, okay, fine. But this is something that you can try right away. So if you haven't tried any of this, I would recommend that you try the SAS extension first up, because that is the easiest one to get started. You don't need to set up your you don't need to set up your WebLogic or the hardware. You don't need to worry about any of that. It will just get you a ready-made server, just deploy to it, and you're ready to go. So I would recommend that you try that first up. Okay, so I mentioned some of the clouds here, but there are other clouds as well. So have you gone through the cloud site for Oracle? Okay, there are like tens and 30, 40 different cloud solutions that Oracle has come up with. So the idea is that based on what you need, you just pick the clouds that you want and you kind of get them to work together, right? So the Java Cloud Service is what you just saw. So even just in the application development cloud space, there are these 8 different clouds, of which even I haven't tried 4 or 5 of them. But based on what you need, so if I need messaging, right? So the basic thing does not have the messaging capability. So I just get a messaging cloud service integrated with my other setup, and I have the messaging part of it. So similarly, Developer Cloud for the development environment, mobile for the mobile part of it. Application Container Cloud is the interesting one, where it's the containers is the in thing, right? So that's the if you're wondering if you have attended any sessions on Docker and containers and kind of interested in kind of exploring that space. So this is where they give you just a container. Essentially, it's like having a JVM available to you. So I just upload a jar file for my application, and I can run my application there, right? So it's a container-based thing where I get a Java SE for me, ready to go. It's not an application server, it's not Java EE, it's just a basic Java SE or Node.js is supported there. So that is what is available to you. So again, the point is that you get all of these clouds to work together to get your application to do what it is expected to do, right? So it's not just one cloud in isolation that will probably suffice. If it's a full-fledged enterprise application, just buying Oracle Java Cloud Service will probably not suffice. You'll need to pick these other clouds as well based on what the needs of your application are. Okay, so challenges. What do you think is the obvious challenge? What do you think is the problem with using such an environment? Any obvious ones? Essentially, you're kind of pretty much committing to it, right? If you're buying 4 different clouds and entirely kind of using this environment, then you're pretty much committing to it. So you are kind of the Oracle guys probably will object to me saying getting locked in, because the application that you're building is not really cloud specific. But the environment, if you're kind of configured your cloud in a certain way, you are kind of tied into using that. Unfortunately, there is no standardization on the cloud where I can just pick a configuration file from Oracle Cloud and I'll be able to deploy it on some other cloud. That is unfortunately not there. We don't have any standards in that space. So if you are committing to the Oracle Cloud, you buy 4 or 5 of these clouds to get your application running. It's pretty much a long-term thing. It's not something that you can easily kind of move on from, is what I would feel. Future ready, the reason I added this point, I added it only a couple of days back, is because I've been hearing so much about containers and microservices and this different way of building applications. So I personally am not completely convinced of that being the right solution for everybody. But if at all that is the direction that we intend to take, this is not really there. You don't have that as of now. This is the traditional WebLogic server with a traditional Java EE server now, that where you deploy a WAR EAR, and that is what we have been doing for many years. So it works fine, but if at all it happens that 1 year down the line, all of us are going to be building only microservices based, container based kind of applications, this might suddenly seem like outdated and something that probably you should not have considered. Maybe, I don't know, it's very difficult to predict how the next couple of years will go. If at all everybody starts building just microservices, container based applications, then this investment might not seem like a good idea 2 years from now. But if you think the traditional Java EE based application development will serve your needs for many years to come, this is perfectly fine. It's a completely rich environment. You can do whatever you want. All the capabilities that you would expect from a Java EE server are there. Okay, so that's about it. So I think I've completed much before time. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to address them. My book, I think, might be available in the bookstore outside. So do try out the Java Cloud Service. I think it's a wonderful way to build applications, that compared to having servers on your machine and managing all the stuff that you don't really want to do. So my primary thing I tell people is that do the stuff that is really critical to your business. So building your application is what you need to focus on. Running the servers and doing all that stuff is not really something that you want your team to be spending time on. So if you can delegate all that to the cloud and just focus on building the core business logic for your application, the Oracle Cloud, I think, is a good idea. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.